Hey friends, today I'm tackling a common seed starting issue, mold on seedlings. I'll explain why it happens, how to prevent it, and what to do if you spot mold in your seedling trays. Let's keep those seedlings healthy and thriving. Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden. And before we dive in, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with a fellow gardening friend. Okay, so today's a little bit of a seedling update. We're going to be potting up some seedlings. We're mainly going to be talking about mold because I am dealing with a mold issue throughout quite a few of my seedlings. And truthfully, this is the first time in years that I've had to deal with mold. And I do think I have a culprit for it. Besides some general conditions, it seems that I recently used Vigoro potting soil rather than my original Burger BM7 because I hadn't taken the time to drive out to pick up the Burger BM7. So I used some Vigoro, and it looks like most of the plants with the Vigoro potting soil have mold on it. So let's take a look at the mold and then let's talk all about mold and how we're going to take care of this. Okay, so we've got a lot going on seedling wise. I've already made a few adjustments to what's going on, but I basically did a lot of potting up lately with the Vigoro soil, and you can see the white mold on top of a lot of my seedlings. Now, the seedlings are okay. The stronger ones, the ones in the larger containers, they're okay. And I think they're going to be okay. See, there's some that's a little bit more worse for wear. Some right there. And I've already made some adjustments. All the petunias are doing fine, but they were all potted up with Burger BM7. All of these, this container, this container, this container, this container, this container, all of those were potted up with the Vigoro. All right, and then over here, on my lantana, they were all potted with BM7, Burger BM7, no issues. All of these were potted up with the Vigoro, and look at the mold on the top. So I think that perhaps Vigoro wasn't the best choice. I also have a lot of seedlings that were started. These were all started with Burger BM7, and they're fine. However, I do have some over here where we definitely have a buildup of mold. So interesting. So let's talk about it. Boo. Okay, mold's no fun. It can be dealt with if you catch it early. And today is February 12th, the day that I'm recording this video. I actually realized that I had mold issues last weekend. And so I started dealing with some of the stuff. So let's talk about mold to start off with. So let's talk about why you get mold. Like, why does mold appear? It's usually due to excess moisture and poor air circulation in the area wherever you've got your seedlings. Overcrowded seedlings and compacted soil. So if the soil is too compacted and pressed down too tight, you can't allow enough air to get through the soil. And lack of sunlight or warm conditions that encourage fungal growth. So those are typically all the reasons for why mold will occur. So let's talk about prevention tips, how to stay away from the mold, and I'll talk to you about a couple of reasons why I think mold occurred for me. So one of the first prevention tips is water seedlings with care, avoid overwatering. So I was out of town for a cruise and was not here to care for my seedlings. My mother-in-law took care of them and she did a very good job watering them. However, I think it ended up being too much water. And then I came into town and immediately went ahead and fertilized all the seedlings, which was not the best choice either. So definitely I had a lot of overwatering right off the bat, and that was right at the end of January. Choose a well-draining soil. So the Burger BM7 is an excellent, well-draining soil. The Burger BM7 is the soil that most nurseries use to pot up their stuff because it's awesome. It's great soil. It's well-draining. It's wonderful. But not a lot of nurseries actually sell it. They sell the commercial stuff, Vigoro and Miracle Grow and all that kind of stuff. So, but the Burger BM7 drains really well. The Vigoro, so I used the Vigoro on a lot of potted up stuff, and I treated it just like I was going to have Burger BM7, which was the wrong thing to do because Vigoro does not drain nearly as well as the Burger BM7. So using the Burger BM7 was not a great choice using the Vigoro was not a great choice for me. I should have taken the time to drive out and get the soil that I know that works best for me. So what I could have done with that Vigoro potting soil is I could have added perlite or vermiculite to improve the drainage. Now I only have like a quarter of a bag left, so I'm just going to stick it outside and I'll use it for potting up something outside. But if you have a soil that you feel is just too heavy and doesn't drain well, you can add in the perlite or vermiculite to really help with the drainage issues. You also want to ensure that you have good air circulation by placing your seed trays in a spot with adequate airflow. So overwatering led to excess humidity in this space. And I also have started more seedlings than I ever had in the past. And while I have a ceiling fan up here, I needed additional air circulation. And I think that was one of the big issues. I just had a lot of humidity in this room from all the excess water. Everything was just sitting and the air wasn't moving. So that also caused a buildup of mold. And since then I have installed some fans. So I'll show y'all what that looks like. Also, you want to monitor temperature and humidity, keeping the area warm but not overly humid. So we also just went through a warm snap in this area. And when I say warm snap, we had days that were 90 degrees outside, and I did not run my air conditioning during those times. So my house was warm, like got up to like 76, 77 degrees at some points, which is much warmer than my seedlings traditionally are stored at. Typically, they're stored at about 68 to 72 degrees, and I'm familiar with what's needed for that. But since the temperature in my house got hotter and warmer, and I had excess moisture, and I had poor airflow, it was just like the perfect storm for mold to occur. And then one of the other key things is sterilizing your pots and tools, which I do not do. And I'm not going to start doing that now. I've never had an issue until right now. And I don't think understanding what all the other issues were that were occurring in this space, I don't think it was that I didn't sterilize a particular pot. I don't think that that was the particular issue. Okay, so let me show you a few of the things that I have done to help with it, and it's already made a big difference. So let me show you. Okay, so I installed some fans, some of which I already had. They're all off right now because I'm recording. I've got this oscillator up here, and it's hitting all of these up here. By the way, check out the geraniums. They're so beautiful. I'm about to start potting up some hanging baskets. And then I do have some more oscillating fans right now. The fan is off, but it's still oscillating. I picked these up on Walmart for 20 bucks. So I've got one in this corner that turns. And then on the opposite corner, I've got an additional one. So we're creating a cross breeze throughout the space. And it really hits a lot of these down here and those over there. And then over here, I've got just a small fan up here for the top parts because the oscillating fan that's behind me right here, it does hit this area as well. Now you may also notice that I have a lot less seedling trays down here right now, and I've spaced a lot of them out. So I moved some down here, and then I already had additional lights. So I went ahead and set those up and moved a bunch of petunias over here out of the way. And then I also set some up here. These are ones that I'm wanting to slow down on growth. So I feel okay about putting them over here underneath these light strips because they're not as strong as my other lights. But yeah, so I want these to slow down on growth a little bit. These are all my geraniums. They're looking just lovely. Very excited for them. And then some more petunias. Okay. So obviously I spread out all my seedling trays, I increased the airflow, and I reduced my watering. So typically I come in and I might come into a tray and I will fill the tray about halfway up with water, and just let it soak up, and then if there's excess water in there, I just leave it. So what I did is I really gave a couple of days for everything to soak up the water and dry out. And then when I came in, I instead just did a quarter of the way with water and allowed it to soak all the water up. And then if there was any standing water, I went ahead and dumped it out. But you can see all the trays are nice and dry considering that I did water yesterday. So definitely watered less. Might have to water more often now. But already made the changes and definitely feeling more in control of the mold and more understanding what's going on with the mold as well. Okay, so we talked about why mold appears. We talked about some prevention tips. And then I showed you some of the things I adjusted to help prevent future mold. But we have current mold. So what do I do to treat the current mold? So let's talk about that. So one of the few things is we need to look at the mold and we need to determine, is it harmless mold or is it more serious mold? So let's take a look at some of the seedlings that I'm dealing with, and let's talk about which one is harmless and if I have any that are serious mold. Okay, and I'm going to use these two trays as an example right here. Okay, we've got two trays right here. Now, on here, harmless mold usually appears as a thin white or light gray fuzzy layer on the surface of the soil. And you can definitely see that occurring in here, right? Definitely occurring in there. To me, that looks like harmless mold. Sometimes it has a powdery texture that does not spread aggressively. So you might just see like on some of those soils, it looks a little powdery. So sometimes it's just lighter and no big deal, right? More serious mold would be like damping off. Damping off is when seedlings collapse at the soil level and their stem is brown and mushy. I don't currently have any here that are showing. Even this guy right here, which is a Bells of Ireland, it's falling over because it's top heavy, not because we have a damping off. But I don't see any damping off on here. Also, we're looking for a more serious mold would be black or green mold. So we're looking for dark green, black, or thick fuzzy patches forming on the soil or containers, and they would have a musty smell. So while I don't feel like this right here is serious mold, I think it's on its way to serious mold. So because it's a little bit thicker buildup there than you might see in other places. Now, there's some green over here. That's algae. That's different than black mold or green mold. However, no matter the situation is, we can't leave the seedlings in this. Like, that's just not going to work, especially for these really young seedlings. So we do need to take these out of the container and go ahead and pot them up. Okay, so how to treat the mold. Now we've identified that I have harmless mold. I don't have any serious mold. Serious mold would be much further along. I did catch this early, even though it seems like there's mold everywhere. So let's talk about some treatments for mold. So one of the first ones is surface removal. So you can basically just use a small tool. Come in here with the small tool and you can scrape across the top and just remove the mold from the top. And then you want to scoop that into a container or pot that you throw away. Super simple, super easy, can be tedious, but one of the most easy ways to deal with treating for the mold. Next, you can use natural remedies. You can mix a mild solution of water and hydrogen peroxide, or a diluted cinnamon and water mix works really well. Lots of people talk about how they spray cinnamon, or they sprinkle cinnamon on the top of their soil. That's fine. I highly suggest you mix it with water though, so that it can soak down into the first, quarter inch of your soil, and that's extremely helpful. And then improving conditions is another way we can treat for the current mold, and that's what I've done. I've already gone through and I've improved my air circulation. I've improved my watering, watered less, and allowing the containers to dry a little bit before watering more. And then I also I spaced out my seedlings as well for better air ventilation. And then finally, if things feel really bad, the mold seems like too much, you just need to discard it. You just need to get rid of it. And definitely if it has damping off, get rid of it because there's no coming back from damping off. And if you feel like you see dark green or black mold, obviously get rid of that as well. Do not try to pot it up or continue to use it or grow it on. So those are definitely things we want to do. If it feels like it's overwhelming and it's too much, let it go and just, move on for the health of yourself. Now, what I am going to do is I am going to be potting up several of my seedlings. I'll scrape off the mold and then I'll pot them up into new containers utilizing the Burger BM7, and then I'll water them lightly to start off with. It's time to pot some of these up anyway, so I'm kind of excited to kind of move forward with that. So let's get set up for potting up. Now, I don't have tons and tons to pot up like I did not too long ago. I did a recent video that was all about potting up, and I must have potted up a couple of hundred seedlings. Like, it was a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and start putting my Burger BM7 on here. This mat was already cleaned off from all the Vigoro potting soil, so only has Burger BM7 on there now. I'm also gonna need an empty water reservoir tray and containers to pot up into. Now, these green containers I got off of Amazon, they're not my favorite because the sizing doesn't work. I can only fit 10 of them in each of these trays instead of 15 across. Not my favorite. So it is what it is. I already have them. I'm not going to go get new ones. I had a couple of y'all make some suggestions that if you want to be really cost effective, I like to reutilize nursery pots. But if you're out of nursery pots, you can totally just go to the Dollar Tree or the dollar store and pick up some plastic cups and then poke holes in the bottom of them and use those. Very, very cost-effective approach. So potting up is basically just moving a seedling from one small container to a larger container. And so all I'm going to do is basically come in here with the soil. I'm going to make a hole. I also need a container to scrape mold into. What do I want to use? I think that I'll just use one of these little containers. Now, I'm going to come in and I'm going to pull out my seedling. You want to make sure your seedlings are well hydrated. This guy's fighting me. There we go. You want to make sure your seedlings are well hydrated. And then I'm also going to come through and I'm going to knock off the top layer of the soil that has the most mold. Just like that, and then I'm just going to pop it into my container. Just like that. These seedlings that I am potting up right now are Bacopa seedlings. It's a very simple process. Let me bring you in closer so you can see better. Now, potting up is probably one of the things I dislike the most about seedlings. I love it when it's all done. I just don't love the process. I'm also leaving my soil very loose right here, because since I'm having mold issues, I want to make sure that I'm ventilating quite a bit. So I'm going to come back over here to my Bacopa seedlings. And let's see if we can get this loosened up. I think we'll just go for like this. Gently coax it out. This one does not want to come, so let me see if I can loosen it up a little bit more. There it goes. Okay, and this one's falling apart a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to knock off that mold. Now I know y'all are all like, oh, but you're spreading the mold spores. Y'all, it's way less than what it was. And remember, I've adjusted my conditions so that the mold spores won't be happy in my conditions because I have better air circulation, less moisture. So I'm going to do one more and then we're going to do a bunch. All right, then I'm just going to scrape the mold that I have on top of here. Make a hole, pop that down into there, just like that. Okay, let me show you the seedlings that we're going to do before I move forward. So that was the Bacopa Bluetopia. We're also going to do Bacopa Snowtopia, which is looking pretty nice, but it has mold issues. I'm also going to do the Marvelette Blue Calamintha. It's not having mold issues, but it is ready to be potted up. It's actually blooming, so I think it needs to go to the next level, and I'm also going to be cutting that back as well. I'm also going to pot up my one sad little florific sweet orange New Guinea Impatiens. I got just one. So there's mold starting to form. So I'm just, even though that seedling is super tiny, I'm just going to go ahead and move it to a new container. And then finally today, I'm going to go ahead and move this single Bells of Ireland. None of the other ones came up, but all this soil right here is not good. Now, I do want to point out that all the soil with the mold on it is going to go in the trash. It's not going to go back into my soil dump. Okay, I take it back. I think I'm also going to go pot up my lemon thyme because I'm definitely seeing a mold buildup down in between this, and it's kind of going crazy and really spreading around, so I want to give it some more space. Okay, so let's take a look. So we went ahead and potted up quite a few. This is the lemon thyme, some Marvelette, calamintha over there, which I also cut back. This is my one sad little Bells of Ireland. Over there is my New Guinea Impatiens, the Bacopa. And you can see it didn't overcrowd. There's room and airflow in between them. And then down here, I also went ahead and planted up, potted up my Karigami oregano. And that's it. Those are the ones I did. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 trays. And there's definitely some other things that need to be potted up. Over here, it looks like I've got a little bit of an aphid issue over here on my, I think those are daisies. Those might be my creeping daisies. And I've got some built up in a few places. So still have some more that I need to deal with and take care of. Oh, my saponaria has done terrible, and it's been attracting aphids like crazy. So I'm actually just going to get rid of it. It's had a ton of aphids. You can actually see them on the leaf there. And I feel like that's where all my aphids started, with the saponaria. So I think I'm going to get rid of that guy as well. All right. Okay. So I am going to water those, but not overwater. I'm going to do just 25% of the tray. And then after I'm finished filming, I'll go ahead and turn all of the fans on. I discarded, oh, I still need to discard this, but I discarded all the other soil that was left over in those seed starting cells. And then I have a stack of them over here, and I will put these aside. I won't use these until they've had several weeks to dry out, which should help. But do when I can. The next thing would be to potentially start moving things outside. Sunlight is way different than all the grow lights in here. Sunlight is way better. So if I need to, we'll look at that. We are back into our cold weather here. We're only a few more weeks away from our last frost, literally 4 weeks away from the last frost. So if I can keep these going just a little bit longer and then get them moved outside where they can get plenty of sunshine, we'll be fine. We're going to make it. So, all right, y'all. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Just a reminder, you're not on your own if things are not going perfect with your seedlings. We're all dealing with issues. I changed one element. Actually, I changed a lot of elements. I overwatered. I didn't have good air circulation. It got hot outside, so my house was hot. It was a perfect storm of things. But now I'm trying to remedy all of that, so hopefully we should be good to go on on the mold at this point in time. But I'll keep you guys updated. As always, make sure you like and comment on the video. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow the video so much. And if you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, just drop me an emoji below, letting me know that you made it to the end of the video and that you say hi. And be sure to check me out on my social media outlets, including Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I also started a Patreon community, which I am loving. It is a smaller group of gardeners where we share pictures and we chat, and I have exclusive content on there. yeah, it's a really great little group. It's really nice because it's just gardening stuff on there, which is great. We don't have to look at anything else, which I just absolutely love. And sharing the pictures is a really big aspect that I'm really excited for. There's a free platform of that, but then there are also paid tiers if you want more access and more content. All right, y'all. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.